The more popular a programming language is, the more people hate it. And let me tell you something, devs really like to hate on JavaScript. But the fact that this little scripting language, which was created in only 10 days back in the 90s, now runs in browsers, servers, databases, mobile apps, and AI tools is nothing short of a miracle. And the road from a duct tape scripting hack to the most widely used language in the world was bumpy and full of surprises. It all starts in May 1995, when Netscape asks Brendan Eich to create a scripting language for the web. Their requirements, like all requirements, were both vague and ambitious at the same time. The language should look like Java, but it should be more accessible. And, like any well-thought-out tech requirement, it had a very hard, tight deadline. If God was able to create the world in 7 days, it shouldn't take Eich more than 10 days to create a language for the web. And, surprisingly, Brendan actually pulls this off. While it was really basic, the first version of the language had a lot of the features which define JavaScript to this day. It had a C-like syntax, prototype-based objects, basic DOM manipulation and functions as first-class citizens. Naming things in the tech world is really hard, so they decide to pick Mocha as the language name. Soon after, they renamed it as LiveScript, only to change its name again to JavaScript. Believe it or not, this was a marketing move aimed to capitalize on the cool factor Java was enjoying back in the 90s. So, in a plot to confuse HR departments and recruiters for decades to come, the JavaScript name sticks even though the two languages have nothing in common. It's worth noting, however, that initially Netscape and Sun envisioned a world where Java objects were manipulated by JavaScript in the browser, but that idea aged like milk. So, in 1995, JavaScript gets embedded in the Netscape Navigator 2.0, which is why you still have to query the Navigator object for browser information to this day. Not wanting to be left out, Microsoft introduces their own browser language called JScript a year later. JScript is just different enough to cause massive compatibility problems and just proprietary enough to bind developers to ActiveX and Windows. In other words, it is a proper Windows product. In order to avoid a total browser compatibility nightmare, Netscape submits JavaScript to ECMA International in 1997. This leads to the birth of the ECMAScript standard and the creation of the TC39 committee, which decides what JavaScript can and can't do. Microsoft then starts bundling Internet Explorer with their Windows operating system, and Netscape begins losing market share. By 1998, it's becoming obvious that Netscape can't win this browser war, so Navigator is open-sourced under the Mozilla name. This move will eventually give us Firefox, the browser who brought us tabbed browsing, browser extensions, and the Rust programming language. By the end of the 90s, ECMAScript 3 drops and finally turns JavaScript into something more than a toy. Developers get some proper tools like exception handling, do-while loops, regular expression support, and string methods. ECMAScript 3 becomes the baseline for web development, and, remarkably, it stays that way for over a decade. There's no ECMAScript 4. That attempt collapses under the weight of its own ambition. For the next 5 years, JavaScript basically collects dust in a corner, while the enterprise world chases Java applets, Flash, and server-heavy websites. Then, in 2005, everything changes. Google drops Gmail in beta and it feels fast, snappy, and weirdly alive. Under the hood, they use a new technique called Ajax, which lets the page update without doing a full reload. That might not sound like much today, but back then, it was revolutionary. Suddenly, JavaScript wasn't just for form validation, and it could actually power entire user interfaces. This was the start of Web 2.0. YouTube, Google Maps, and Facebook soon follow with richer interactivity, snappier interfaces, and more code running in the browser. The web stops being a collection of documents and starts feeling like an app platform. To make sense of this new world, libraries like Dojo, Prototype, and MooTools start emerging. Each of them is trying to smooth over the chaos in their own way. But in 2006, jQuery drops and it's game over. jQuery was small, elegant, and actually worked across browsers. It let you write less code and do more, using a clean syntax that felt like magic compared to the verbose mess of raw DOM manipulation. It soon became the duct tape of the internet, and it is still used in 70% of public websites to this day. Meanwhile, browser wars continue. After Mozilla released Firefox in 2004, Google enters the ring in 2008 with Chrome and its V8 engine, which compiles JavaScript to native machine code. V8 is fast. It is in fact so fast that people start to wonder if maybe JavaScript doesn't have to stay in the browser. And this marks a pivotal moment in the history of JavaScript. In 2009, Ryan Dahl releases Node.js powered by V8, and suddenly JavaScript can run on the server. This blows open the doors for full-stack JavaScript, and within months, people are building web servers, APIs, and real-time apps entirely in JS. Around the same time, NPM is also born. It quickly becomes the largest package registry online, while being directly responsible for the heaviest object known to man. In the same year, Oracle acquires Sun Microsystems and takes ownership of the JavaScript trademark. That's right, the most used programming language in the world is still legally owned by Oracle. Yes, people are still trying to fix that, and no, they haven't succeeded yet. Throughout the 2010s, JavaScript grows up fast. Front-end frameworks start rolling out, each one promising to fix what the last one broke or ignored. This is the era of JavaScript fatigue, where every month there's a new GitHub repo claiming to be the future of front-end development. On a brighter note, ECMAScript finally gets its act together with ES6 and a new set of features aim to bring JavaScript into the modern day. This is also when the Jamstack is coined, GraphQL is released, and Redux becomes the most complained about subject in your coffee break. WebAssembly also enters the chat, making it possible to run low-level programming languages in the browser. By 2014, more of the logic is moving from the server to the client, and Microsoft comes up with TypeScript to fix some of the chaos of large-scale JS apps. For once, Microsoft wasn't shipping a bloated enterprise tool or trying to reinvent the browser. They gave developers something clean, pragmatic, and genuinely helpful. And, in classic Microsoft fashion, they still managed to upset half of the community. But the front end is not all sunshines and rainbows. All this code running on the client also ends up leading to weird incidents. In 2016, a developer unpublishes a tiny 17-line NPM package, and it takes down thousands of projects with it. As it turns out, entire production stacks quietly depended on some random string padding utility written by a guy with a grudge. Welcome to modern JavaScript. By 2018, JavaScript is in your browser, on your server, in your mobile app, your CI pipeline, and yes, even in your smart fridge. Google drops TensorFlow.js, so now you can run machine learning in the browser, Mozilla ships WebAssembly support, and Facebook keeps doubling down on React. Meanwhile, sick of all the framework wars, Ryan Dahl decides to start a fight on a completely new front. He launches a new JS runtime called Deno and pitches it as what Node.js should have been. Welcome to the runtime wars. Fast forward to 2020 and Deno 1.0 finally ships. And just to prove JavaScript can do anything, SpaceX launches the Crew Dragon capsule with a UI built using Chromium and JavaScript. So the same language that powers meme generators and drop-down menus is now helping fly astronauts into orbit. Try explaining that to someone in 1995. By 2022, Internet Explorer is finally dead, and all of a sudden, front-end developers have a lot of free time on their hands. But they couldn't enjoy that for long because JavaScript hit a midlife crisis. React server components became the new gospel, even though nobody could explain them without sounding lost. Next.js turned frontend into a maze of choices, and the old established frontend frameworks finally got some real competition. Then, thanks to tools like Transformers.js, we can now run ML models directly in the browser. JavaScript went from animating pop-ups to doing face detection and text generation. And, just to keep things interesting, the modern frontend stack now involved SSR, hydration, resumability, islands architecture, edge functions, and so many build steps that nobody could explain their own deployment pipeline without drawing a diagram and apologizing halfway through. And yet, JavaScript keeps going. It outlived Flash, Java Applets, Silverlight, and even Internet Explorer. It survived bad specs, bad tooling, and worse opinions. And, despite all our complaints, it still is the most used, most duct-taped, most indispensable language on Earth. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and until next time, thanks for watching.